You may see them too. I'm a 25-year-old female. I've been a caregiver for 6 years now. I've worked in a few different places, retrained and reintroduced to new residents. The first CBRF I ever worked for was a 13-bed facility. A CBRF takes in more than just geriatrics who can no longer live alone. It handles anywhere from addicts to dementia to old age. In order to become a DSP, you have to go through about 4 weeks of training. Direct support professionals go through basic first aid, administering medications, basic fire safety and dementia support classes. All the training classes never quite prepare you for being on the floor. During dementia training, they taught us about dementia with Lewy bodies. It's a degenerative disease that causes auditory and visual hallucinations. We ran through different scenarios of how to redirect a resident while they're having these episodes. One example was of the residents chasing after their past loved ones. Often they wander away from the home and end up lost. We had to stay vigilant in order to keep them safe. The main thing was we were to never discredit them or their hallucinations. We were taught to play along and redirect. Telling them, "No, it's made up," or "No one is there," can cause them to fly into a violent rage or break down into inconsolable tears. When I first started on the floor, I met one of the first dementia patients right away. Her name was Beverly. My first interaction with her was her coming up behind me and whispering to me, "You better take care of them, or I'll have to kill you." She then pointed at the floor as if someone was standing there. I nervously laughed and ran to my administrator's office. She explained to me that Beverly was harmless, but she often saw children. She reminded me of my training and to play along, but then added, "You may see them too." I continued working there for a few more months without much of any incident. I worked the second shift, so there were many uncomfortable nights. While vacuuming the hallways, I heard the door alarm go off. Every time someone opened one of the main doors to outside, an alarm would ring. I looked out the window to see Beverly, in nothing but a nightgown, in the middle of a Wisconsin winter. She was bent over at the waist, walking slowly, as if a small child was holding her hand and leading her down the parking lot. I quickly ran outside to catch up with her and tried to consult her. She was confused when she saw me and asked where the little girl went. I explained to her that her mum came to pick her up and quickly brought her back inside. A few weeks later, some of the other staff were talking between shift change, and I overheard them talking about Beverly's little girl. Turned out I wasn't the only one that had seen Beverly have an episode, but then they went on to talk about the daycare next door. I hadn't been working there for long, so one of the veteran DSPs went on to explain about the original daycare that used to be in the new one's place. I guess it burned down and some of the kids got hurt. The veteran DSP wondered if there was any correlation between what Beverly was seeing and the old daycare. The rest of the group of the DSPs went on to talk about weird sightings they had seen in our building. Always catching glimpses of someone short out of the corner of their eye, things going missing, or even being misplaced. We had even had a resident wake up screaming in the middle of the night saying he saw a woman on his ceiling staring at him. When I started my shift that night, I was left with the veteran DSP. All the other DSPs had left for the night. I stayed in the kitchen cleaning up after day shift while the vet was passing meds. I heard the back door open and ran to the windows in the back hallway to look. It was Beverly. It was snowing really hard that night, so it was hard to see out, but she was in her bent-over stance, being led away by something again. This time I saw another person with her, actually holding onto her hand, a little girl with blonde hair. I yelled for the vet and we both ran outside to look for Beverly. We looked all around the building and found nothing. The vet asked if I was sure of what I saw. I swore that I had seen Beverly. I even heard the door alarm go off again. The vet suggested we go back inside and check if maybe she got back in without us noticing. When we got to her room, we both had the air escape us. We found Beverly on the floor dead. I won't go into too much detail of how she looked, but it still haunts me to this day. She was holding a photo. It was a picture of her daughter when she was little, and her daughter had long blonde hair.